Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome or welcome back. This will be my monthly wrap up for April. I already did a couple of videos because I did a buddy read and I also did People April. So these are the ones that don't fit within any of those. I also read The Three Musketeers this month as a buddy read, but I'm finishing up The Black Count and I'm going to do a video for that when the rest of the people in that group read finish Three Musketeers so I can post it then. But in the meantime, the books that I have read and listened to this month was She Made Herself a Monster, and that is by Anna Kovačeva, and that is a Bulgarian author, and so it's about this small community where there was this girl who basically is outcast, and they blame all the bad things that happened in the world as her being cursed. There's not a lot of children there, and when the children do die, it's always her fault. So she's now one of the younger ones there, and she is an orphan because her parents were burned in a fire on the day that she was born. Essentially, the story is that she had to be cut out of her mother's stomach, and they died so that she could live, and therefore that is the reason for her curse and why she's essentially this witch. There's also another witch in town, or they believe is a witch in town, that they kind of alternate on what to blame what on. And the guy who raised her, and he's raising her and like his nephew or something. And now that she's of age, very barely of age, he wants to marry her. And she is disgusted because she saw this guy as her dad and now has to be his wife. So that is like the main idea of the story. It is like a horror story, but it's very rooted in reality because there's this vampire slayer that comes into town, and she's a con artist. Essentially, she makes monsters so that she can destroy them. And so she colludes with this young other girl, and they're going to create a monster that will free this one from her curse, so that they can basically destroy it. So it's kind of fun to watch her do all of her weird work to try to make the townsmen believe that there's something witchy going around, something horrible. She convinces the town that there's a vampire in its midst. They're going to make it look like the one girl dies so that she can then, we have to bury her outside of the town limits, because then all of her cursed stuff that that is part of her will no longer touch the town. So like that's kind of like their goal, and obviously it doesn't go to plan, but it's just a really great meditation on how mass hysteria works. It reminded me very much about The Crucible, and how it just takes one person pointing the finger and then everyone else just absolutely believes them. And also, though, it shows how society and men, we always need someone to blame something on. So we create a monster just to destroy it. And it's just really interesting of how she goes her whole life being horribly treated, only for when the guy who wants to marry her needs the town to accept their marriage, then points to this unknown possible vampire that's on the loose as the cause for all of their problems, and therefore she's innocent, and we have been so wronged being so we've wronged her so much, she deserves everything good, and therefore please let me marry her, blah blah blah. And it's just it had a really interesting take on it all. I did like the themes that were discussed, but also the atmosphere that it created. It was good. It was my first reading of anything from Bulgaria, and so I do have another one on my list that I have to read this year. But that was my first one, and I enjoyed it. The next one was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. And this is a more untold story in history. So it is historical fiction. She is of Lithuanian descent. I've read her before when she wrote I Must Betray You, which was about the Soviets coming in and the basically control of Romania, and how they used this one kid to be a spy to try to figure out who else was anti-Soviet, and that really negative and oppressive regime there. This is more personal story. This was the author's first story. She wrote it to tell her own family saga type of thing, and it's about Lithuania being controlled by Stalin during World War II, and the horrors that they had to endure there, and about this family and a group of people who are now being shipped over, to Siberia to clear the way of Lithuania of any people deemed unworthy by Stalin, and how that country in particular was kind of caught between Stalin one way and Hitler coming in the other way, and not knowing if Hitler would have been worse or would have been a savior to all the horrors that they were enduring under Stalin. So you get them traveling, and I was reading this right after the Diary of Anne Frank, so it's very similar in how they had to try to hide who they were, try to hide their ethnicity, also then relying on the kindness of strangers on this journey, and how strangers become family when you need to form this protective unit against unthinkable evils, and just the human spirit and endurance, and the positivity amongst all of the stuff that they were enduring. It was really interesting. It was really well done, and it was also haunting in the effect that it's this silence that nobody talked about. She didn't even know her own family history. When she went to visit some family in Lithuania, they were told that they had to disinherit her grandfather because he essentially was on the wrong side, wrong kind of person, and so she kind of weaved a little of that within the story of how her dad was and her family was put on this list, or not her but the main characters family was put on this list because they helped his brother escape, and the brother's wife was German, and the only place that they could escape to was Germany, which we know is just as dangerous for them, and we're kind of left wondering, if they survive as well. But at the risk of saving them, they are now put at risk. And it's haunting to decide, do you blame them for being free? Or are you glad that they got their freedom? Do you wish it was you? But also, if you survived this and you find out that they left and endured worse, like where does that make you stand as a family? Are you able to then ever reconnect? Are you ever able to forgive and move on? And I just it had you thinking about a lot of different things, and it's also something that I didn't hear a lot about. I knew what Stalin and stuff did, but I hadn't read anything specifically when talking about World War II about what he did, sending his people away as he was conquering the way that Germany was being conquered, and just to be in between those two horrific powerhouses, one that alone would have been horrifying. So I just really I can't say I enjoyed that story, but I think a lot of that story. And another one that I read was this one is Embers by Sandor Marai, and this was translated by Carol Brown Janeway. This is a Hungarian novelist, and it was part of another group read that I did. I kind of overcommitted myself this month. I didn't anticipate doing so many buddy reads or group reads, but I'm glad that I read every book that I did, so I'm not complaining too much, but I didn't get much of my own personal reading done because I was participating in all of these. Anyway, before I talk about this book, I bought it used, and when I did, there was a letter included, and I wanted to read it because it did kind of help me when I started the book. So these two books are for you, and it's addressed to someone who I'm not going to say, but now I wondered what the other book is because I really did love this one, and I want to know what the other book was. But it says, they are by a world-renowned Hungarian author who wrote them back in the 1930s. At the time, he was only very popular in Hungary. After his death, which was a suicide, in 1989 in LA, he left Hungary in 1948. And he was rediscovered, and his work is now translated into 34 languages. The general opinion of the literary world is that if he was alive, for sure he would have been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. He wrote a lot about life, love, and friendships, and generally human relations. In our opinion, these two books are his best, beautifully translated. And then once again, I really want to know what that second book was. So this was Embers. I did not know what to expect going into this, but it was, the first chapter or two kind of was slow going. It's essentially about these two best friends who have not seen each other in 41 years. And at first you need to, learn their friendship and kind of each person. And now they're going to be reunited for the first time in 41 years. And nothing happens in the story. It's literally just these two old friends who are sitting next to each other and not even kind of like catching up. But I've never read a book where so much of it is long-winded dialogue, mostly one-sided, and still been completely riveted by every word as I was in this book. He literally gives Dostoevsky a run for his money in the long-winded soliloquies, that it felt very reminiscent of something that he would have done. All of the philosophy and stuff that you would probably expect from something like Brothers Karamazov, except in a much slimmer edition. So It's philosophy about life, about friendship, about what the sum of your life means. It's about friends who survived World War One, and when they actually are discussing it, because one of them was in World War One and the other one had British family, so he wasn't made to fight the British. He was allowed to, basically opt out of the war. And so I just wanted to read these passages quick. I might completely butcher it, but so please do not by any means go by my reading. So they're talking about so in my opinion, one cannot change one's nationality at all. All that can be changed are one's documents, don't you think? And then my homeland, says the guest, no longer exists. My homeland was Poland, Vienna, this house, the barracks in the city, Galatia, and Chopin. What's left? Whatever mysterious substance held it all together no longer works. Everything's come apart. My homeland was a feeling, and that feeling was mortally wounded. When that happens, the only thing to do is go away, into the tropics or even further. Even further? Where? Asked the general coldly. Into time. This wine, says the general, lifting his glass and admiring the deep red of its contents, is from a year you may remember, 86, the year we swore our oath to the emperor and king. To commemorate the day, my father laid down this wine in one section of the cellar. That was many years ago, almost an entire lifetime. It's an old vintage now. What we swore to uphold no longer exists, says the guest very seriously as he too raises his glass. Everyone has died or gone away or abandoned the things we swore to uphold. There was a world for which it was worth living and dying. That world is dead. The new one means nothing to me. That's all I can say. For me, that world is still alive. Even if in reality it no longer exists, it lives because I swore an oath to uphold it. That's all I can say. The way that they speak, the way that it's just talks, the way that even the end when it talks about how we get the title, The Embers. See if I can find it. But oh my gosh, I really did love everything about this book. So anyway, they throw something in the fire. So they sit and watch, still as statues, as the fire comes to life, flares as if in pleasure at the unexpected booty, then begins to pant and gnaw at it until suddenly the flames burst upwards, the wax seal is melted, the yellow velvet burns in an acrid cloud, and the pages, aged to the color of ancient parchment, are rifled by an unseen hand. There, suddenly, in the blaze, is Christina's handwriting. The spiky letters once set on fire by fingers now long since dead, and then letters, paper, book, all turned to ashes like the hand that once inscribed them. All that is left is the embers in ash, black ash, with the sheen of a morning veil of watered silk. They watch, wordless, the play of light on the blackness of the ash. I just thought it was very beautifully written. I definitely will be reading more of his. And I don't even want to say for sure like everything that it's about, because part of the joy of it was not knowing what all to expect. And like I said, even though it was literally just mostly a one-sided conversation of philosophy and reminiscing in the past and trying to understand where their friendship went wrong, and all that, you're just sitting here reading one person, and it's absolutely still astoundingly written and impressively fascinating. that you just, can't stop turning the pages. So I do highly recommend this book. And then another one was another kind of a read along. Suey's book chatter, book banter. Sorry, that channel. I'll link that below as well. But she read West with Giraffes by Linda Retluch, and so I read that as well, and I really enjoyed that. And that is also historical fiction. It's a story about these two giraffes, and it's based on actual events, even though the people in the story, some of them are real and some of them were made up for the sake of the story. But these two giraffes, a boy and a girl, survive the water journey to get to the United States, even making it through and surviving a hurricane, and then have to be transported across the country on the roads all the way to the San Diego Zoo. And so it's part adventure story, it's part road trip, it's coming of age. It's a 17-year-old boy who has nobody, no home. It was also destroyed in the hurricane. He also has a past that he's kind of escaping from. He convinces the person who's transporting these giraffes that he can drive, even though he's never driven before, he doesn't have a license, and that he wants to be the driver to get them across the country. And they're being followed by this girl who's just a little bit older than him, also likely trying to escape something, but she has a camera and is a photographer for Life magazine, trying to get her pictures in Life magazine. And so they travel across the country. There's flash floods, there's racism they endure, there's the precious cargo that they have to keep safe from these people who are trying to poach it, trying to rob them for the money, and all this stuff, on top of the fact that it's also, you dealt with the recent war, upcoming of Hitler, the Dust Bowl in the United States that has so many people, including our main young driver, disillusioned and poor, and the idea of these giraffes gives them all this hope that they didn't have before, and they all cling to them and wait for this journey. And sometimes they go in towns where it's dangerous, and sometimes they go in towns and are saved and celebrated as heroes for traveling with these giraffes. And then it just gives you this great appreciation for giraffes in general. Their gentleness, but also their vulnerability, and that they needed to be rescued by them in the midst of all these different disasters and stuff that were happening, but also their adaptability and survivability because of what they have endured and still were around. And it really made me fascinated. I love animals in general, so if you like animals, you'll like this book anyway. If you like coming of age historical fiction, adventure stories, it kind of reminded me, like if you're talking about animals and stuff, something like Black Stallion, or even maybe, White Fang or something like that, where it's human against nature, but it's also human nature, and it's also the connection with animals. It was a very beautiful and well done story, and it was told from the point of view of this man who, the boy who traveled is now over 100-year-old man who is writing down his story in the midst of the idea that giraffes are growing more and more increasingly endangered, and he's scared that these beautiful beasts will be forgotten and not appreciated. And so he wants to write down this story, and he wants to share it specifically with a person who you'll learn at the end, and why he so desperately wants to tell his story now. But it's very well done, very quick, immensely readable book. And then the last two that I read are a part of a series, so I think it's going to be a trilogy. So the first one was The Verifiers by Jane Peck. I wasn't quite sure how I thought about it going in, because at first the writing almost felt pretentious to me, like the author was trying too hard to be smart. So it was kind of, took me a little while to get into, but you have the character Claudia Lynn, and she is she was a English major, so she does make a lot of classical book references that I absolutely love, and I did enjoy all of that. But she also is one who thinks that she's smarter than everyone else. But she grew up with loving like who done it. So like the Agatha Christie, the Hercule Poirot thing, but also she was quite quoting Inspector Yuang stories, which I think are for this. I tried to look it up to see if there's actual stories, but I think that was made up for this book. So she's kind of got like murder mystery mentality. And so she starts working for this company that verifies the veracity of its users for online dating. So if you're matched with someone and you went on a date and they're not who they were saying that they were, or you think that they're lying about something, or you think they're cheating on you, or you think that you're the one being cheated on, whatever, the verifiers will go and look into that story and that person for you. And so they get somebody who comes into the office, and she wants them to check into something. She said, something's not quite feeling right. And then they start investigating, but then she turns up missing. And then they find out, she doesn't show up to one of their meetings. So then they were like, well, I guess, she didn't like what we told her, because one of the people they were looking into was a guy who she was dating, but he was married and had a child. So they were, I guess she didn't like what she had, what we told her. But then they get another call from the girl's sister, who is the name that, so she went by a name. I think it was Grace, and now it's that girl comes in and says, no, my sister used my name, and she was actually a reporter. Her name was Sarah. And so no, so it was Iris, not Grace. So Sarah was a reporter, and she must have been working on a story. And so now they got to try to figure out what story she was working on and what she was trying to uncover, and if that's what got her killed. And you get wrapped up in these really interesting dynamics of what AI is being used for, and how it's getting user information. Because if you want to be matched properly with people, you're giving them as much of your data as possible to get a better match. What are these companies then doing with your data? How are they using it to influence you in other ways? And then how is AI involved in that? So with AI being such a big thing right now, it was kind of interesting to see that aspect of it. Also though, what I liked even more were the family dynamics, because she and her family was from Taiwan, and her mom never really wanted them. She came here, married, hoping for a better life, got, had 3 kids, and the dad took off. And then she sent the 2 older ones to live with her grandparents to her parents with their grandparents in Taiwan, and she raised the youngest one. And so now when the grandparents got too old to raise the kids, she took the kids back, and they're, grown, they're adults now, but there's this like dysfunctional familyness where the 2 older ones are resentful that the younger one's the mom's favorite. The younger one is kind of also hiding something because she likes girls, and she knows that won't be accepted by her mom. And so she is okay wanting to be the favorite even if she has to hide who she is. But she also thought she had a better connection with her parent or her kid or her siblings than she thought. And so all of their internet actions are absolutely fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. And actually, so it was, it really makes you appreciate when they were talking about, being so submerged into this tech world of like pretending to be someone different versus who you are in real life, and then finding out the people that you're interacting with in real life, including your family, they don't know all aspects of who you are, and they're hiding something, and you don't know all about them, and what is good to keep to yourself, and what is destroying your family and causing more generational trauma by continuously suppressing it. Like, what did the mom go through, and why did she feel like she had to leave her kids behind, or like half of them behind? So I'm kind of really enjoying learning that family in that aspect, especially when one of the brothers gets involved with one of the tech companies that the girl is been investigating, and she knows her brother might now be in danger, but in order to save him, she has to then try to figure out if she can reveal her job, which is supposed to be a secret as well. And there's so many layers to deception within her normal life that it colors the way she views her clients, but also all the murder and deception around her clients and stuff is coloring how she's starting to view her family, and it's kind of becoming this cycle. That's within both books. That's not all within that first book, but it makes it really interesting series. I first wasn't sure how I would get into it, but once I got into the second one, some of the techie stuff kind of feels like over my head in a way that I'm just not as interested as I am about the interpersonal relationships, but it does have a way to keep you gripped and listening. And what it just kept reminding me of is one of my favorite quotes from Mother Night, which was by Kurt Vonnegut, is we are who we pretend to be, so be careful who you pretend to be. And that is what she realizes. If you're pretending to be somebody so much that you want people to believe it, and then pretty soon how do you know that that's not who you are now, if you're not pretending anymore, if you became that person. And she uses that reference with her brother, who was so scared to be abandoned by the mom again that he became the best big brother possible just to be useful, so that his mom would love him. And because he needed to be loved so much and made himself useful and made himself into that kind of brother, was he not then the big brother that she thought he was, even though his motives were not what she thought at the time? It didn't change how he interacted with her, and it didn't change her feelings towards him. And I found that really fascinating. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed about it was there's just a brief kind of quick ongoing mini part to it where her roommate and best friend is an artist, and he does these what he calls brief encounters, a collection of art portraits where he takes literary fiction characters that don't otherwise interact and paints them together as if they had belonged together all the time. And so they're always making references. So like one of them was, well, if you compare Holly Golightly and Jay Gatsby, Breakfast at Tiffany's with The Great Gatsby, or Anna Karenina and Ellen Olenska, I think is how you say the last name, but the one from Anna Karenina, but also Age of Innocence, and all the different mini references that they make, like I said, all the allusions to classics that I absolutely loved, made me think of this new series that I'm going to, a video series that I'm going to do, where I'm going to compare and contrast different book characters that are either going to be mirrors of each other, or a kind of a funhouse mirror image, like a distorted image of each other, something like that. I want to do a video series. I already have a list in mind for that. So even books that are not like my absolutely favorite books ever, somehow do still make me want to do something cool with them. And so look out for that series. And if you do have any suggestions for who to include, that I would like to do that. And the last book I wanted to talk about is Watercress. This is by Andrea Wang, and pictures by Jason Chin. And this is a beautiful children's book where this girl and her family are, she's embarrassed that they go into these swamps on public lands, and you know, they're driving down the road, and if they see watercress, they have to get their little bags out and pick it and fill it as much as possible, and this becomes this like family trip that they do together. And then they eat a bunch of watercress, and she's always embarrassed that the kids in school are going to see her. She's embarrassed that they're eating what essentially are like weeds, until she finds out that in China, during the Great Famine, the mom, she lost her little brother because they didn't have enough to eat, and all they could live on was watercress. And the mom was been trying to make the one of the worst memories in her life something enjoyable that she celebrates with her family now. And when the little girl finds that out, she starts to be proud of her family, and proud of her mom for sharing and making that new memory with her. So it is such a beautiful, beautiful story. And then just quickly, my TBR for this month, at least the ones that I'm planning for sure to read. I finally want to read World Without End by Ken Follett, because this is, it takes place firmly within quarter two. And so you're dealing now with the basically abdication and killing of Edward II, as his mother, Queen Isabella, gives the throne to him, Edward III. So you are thrust into, the 100 Years' War. You also are still in Kingsbridge, which is where the first Pillars of the Earth takes place. But now you also have to deal with the coming plague. And I was really excited for myself because I got this at a local used a thrift store, and so it was 69 cents on sale, 60% off. So I got it for like less than 25 cents or around 25 cents. So I was really happy with my find there. Another one, and I'm actually in the middle of listening to this one, but as soon as I started it, I knew that this is going to be one of my probably favorites. In the classics, definitely, I actually like, so Daniel Deronda, I actually am enjoying better than Middlemarch by George Eliot. One of the better classics that I've read this year. I haven't read a lot of classics this year, I guess just better books I've read in general this year. So I'm really, I had more time to listen than to read, so I'm kind of was going back and forth reading and then listening, and then just realized that I'm getting through it and retaining it better by listening, because I just don't do really well with the really small writing when it's this big and wordy and stuff. So I'm going to do a full review when I do the wrap up for this and finish it. And another one that I'm reading or will be starting, and this is small writing too, but at least this is much shorter book, so it shouldn't take as long my eyes won't hate me too much. So this is Washington Square by Henry James. So I'll be reading those three for sure, as well as listening to several. But anyway, that is my wrap up. I think I got everything, and I'm once again sorry for all my rambling. Thank you if you stuck with me this long and are still listening. And as always, happy reading.